I'm 82 years old. I've outlived friends, buried loved ones, and watched families change in ways I never expected. And after all these years, one of my biggest regrets isn't losing money. It's telling the wrong people my plans. I thought openness created trust. I was wrong. Painfully wrong. Because some of the people closest to you can unknowingly become the reason your peace disappears. What I learned took a lifetime to understand. And it may protect the years you have left. So if you're expecting financial advice, retirement strategies, or another list of rules, that's not what this video is about. I'm not here to lecture anyone. At 82 years old, I've learned that some lessons can only be earned through experience. And the ones I'm about to share came from mistakes, disappointments, and moments I wish I could do over. What I discovered after 60 is surprisingly simple. Not every plan needs an audience. Not every dream needs to be announced. And not everyone deserves access to your future before it arrives. Instead of giving other people control over your decisions, protect your peace, protect your freedom, and let your results speak for themselves. Before we begin, if you're over 60, leave your age in the comments below. I always enjoy reading the stories of people who are walking this same road, facing the same questions, and learning the same difficult truths about growing older. The first people I want to talk about are your own children. That may sound surprising because we naturally trust the people we love most. My younger sister certainly did. A few years ago, she decided to be completely transparent about her estate plans. She gathered her children together and explained exactly how her savings, investments, and property would eventually be divided. Her intentions were good. She believed honesty would prevent misunderstandings and keep the family united. For a short time, everything seemed fine. Then the phone calls started. At first, the questions sounded harmless. Later, they became more specific. One child wanted clarification about the house. Another wondered why certain assets were divided a particular way. Before long, comparisons began. Who was getting more? Who was getting less? Who deserved what? What broke my sister's heart wasn't the discussion about money. It was something much quieter. The conversation slowly stopped being about her. Fewer people asked how she was feeling. Fewer people asked about her health. Somehow, the focus shifted from the woman who was still alive to the possessions she would one day leave behind. One evening, she showed me a list she had written on a piece of paper. It wasn't a list of assets. It wasn't a will. It was a list of people who still called just to ask how she was feeling. There were only 2 names on it. She folded the paper and said, "At least now I know who still sees me as a person." That broke my heart. Looking back now, I realize my sister wasn't afraid of losing money. She was afraid of losing the feeling that she still mattered. Love does not require access to every detail of your plans. Some decisions are healthier when they remain private until they are complete. And that brings me to the second group, close friends. Many years ago, I planned to sell my house and move somewhere quieter. I was excited about starting a new chapter, so I shared my plans with several longtime friends. I expected support. Instead, I received something very different. One friend immediately asked about borrowing money after hearing how much the house might sell for. Another insisted I was making a terrible mistake. A third repeated my plans to people I barely knew. Within weeks, what had begun as a personal dream felt like a public debate. The hardest part wasn't the criticism. It was watching my excitement slowly turn into pressure. Every conversation seemed to include another opinion, another warning, another reason to doubt myself. What should have been a joyful decision became emotionally exhausting. Looking back after all these years, I realized the money was never the real issue. Some people quietly resent the opportunities they wish they had themselves. Sometimes the people around you unintentionally fill your mind with fear, doubt, and noise. That's why some plans grow best in silence, protected from outside opinions until they are strong enough to stand on their own. The third group may seem harmless at first: neighbors and casual acquaintances. Most of them aren't bad people. But age has taught me that curiosity and genuine concern are not always the same thing. I remember a woman who lived a few houses down from me. She was kind, friendly, and excited about a long trip she had been planning for years. One afternoon, while chatting with a few neighbors, she mentioned that she would be away for several weeks. It seemed like an innocent conversation. Nothing more. But within days, the information had spread throughout the neighborhood. People knew when she was leaving. They knew how long she would be gone. Some even claimed to know where she was staying. The story traveled from one person to another until it no longer resembled the simple truth she had originally shared. What saddened me wasn't the gossip itself. It was realizing how quickly curiosity had transformed into speculation and rumor. People who barely knew her were discussing her private life as if it belonged to them. The part one never forgot was the look on her face. Over the years, I've discovered that many questions are not asked out of care. Some people are simply looking for something interesting to talk about. As you grow older, quiet decisions become more valuable as the years pass. It is not secrecy. It is protection. And sometimes, protecting your peace means keeping certain details to yourself. That lesson became even clearer when I encountered the fourth group: people who like to take advantage of others. Years ago, there was a man I knew who often came to me with his problems. First, I felt sorry for him. He always seemed to be struggling with something. One month it was an unexpected bill. The next month it was a family emergency. Then it was a problem at work. Every conversation seemed to begin with hardship and end with a request for help. Because I believed I was doing the right thing, I helped whenever I could. Sometimes it was advice. Sometimes it was time. Sometimes it was money. For a while, I convinced myself that this was simply what friends did for one another. Then one day my circumstances changed. I could no longer provide the support he had become accustomed to receiving. And something surprising happened. He disappeared. The phone calls stopped. The visits stopped. The friendship stopped. The day I stopped helping was the day he stopped calling. For years, I thought I was supporting a friendship. I was wrong. I wasn't losing a friend. He was losing a resource. That realization hurt far more than losing the money ever did. That was the moment I understood a painful truth. Some people are attracted to your resources, not your character. They value what you can provide more than who you are. When the benefits disappear, so do they. The real lesson came later. It wasn't about the money. It was about finally seeing the difference between gratitude and dependency. Genuine relationships survive difficult seasons. Opportunistic relationships rarely do. And the older I became, the more I realized that protecting your energy, your time, and your resources is just as important as protecting your money. The fifth group is perhaps the most difficult to recognize because they rarely appear dangerous in the beginning. In fact, they often seem warm, friendly, and genuinely interested in your life. Many years ago, I met someone like that. Every time we spoke, the conversation felt pleasant. He remembered small details. He asked thoughtful questions. He seemed to care. First, I appreciated the attention. But over time, I noticed a pattern. He was always asking about my personal affairs. He wanted to know where I planned to move. He asked about my finances. He was curious about future decisions that had nothing to do with him. I mistook curiosity for friendship and openness for trust. Then one day we had a disagreement. It wasn't a major conflict, just one of those misunderstandings that happen between people. But what happened afterward surprised me. Information I had shared in confidence suddenly became ammunition. Private details were repeated to others. Personal decisions were criticized publicly. Things I had revealed during friendly conversations were used to embarrass and hurt me. I handed him my trust. Years later, he handed it back as a weapon. That realization stayed with me far longer than the disagreement itself. It took me nearly 20 years to understand what that moment was trying to teach me. Some people listen carefully today so they can use those details tomorrow. Some people are simply collecting tools they may one day use. That's why trust should be earned slowly. Observe people longer than feels necessary. Character reveals itself over time. And never hand someone the weapon they could someday use against you. That lesson became even more important when I learned something about people who provide services. Several years ago, I decided to renovate part of my home. It wasn't a huge project, but it mattered to me. During one of my first meetings with a contractor, I made a mistake. I casually mentioned the amount of money I had set aside for the renovation. I thought I was being helpful. I thought transparency would make the process easier. Instead, something strange happened. As estimates came in, the prices seemed unusually high. Later, through a neighbor who had completed almost the exact same work, I discovered that the costs I was being quoted were significantly higher than what others had paid. The work was nearly identical. The materials were nearly identical. Yet the prices were completely different. I went home that evening feeling foolish. Not because I had lost money, but because I had given away information nobody needed to know. The price of the renovation wasn't what bothered me. The price of my openness was. Whether it was intentional or not, the experience left a lasting impression on me. Since then, I have learned that not everyone needs to know your financial capacity. In many situations, the less people know about what you can afford, the better. Share what is necessary. Keep the rest private. Privacy isn't about deception. It's about protecting yourself from unnecessary complications. The seventh and final group may be the most sensitive of all. New romantic relationships later in life. Several years ago, a close friend of mine lost her husband after more than 40 years of marriage. The loneliness that followed was difficult to describe. So when she eventually met someone new, all of us were happy for her. She seemed alive again, hopeful again. It was beautiful to see. But in her excitement, she shared too much too soon. Within a short time, she had revealed details about her home, her savings, her investments, and even her plans for her estate. She believed that complete openness was proof of trust. She wanted no secrets between them. At first, everything appeared perfect. Then I noticed something troubling. Whenever they talked about the future, conversations often drifted toward financial matters. Questions about property became more frequent. Discussions about inheritance became surprisingly detailed. And slowly, my friend began to wonder about something she had never questioned before. Was this person falling in love with her? Or with the security she represented? That uncertainty weighed heavily on her heart. Thankfully, nothing disastrous happened. But the experience taught both of us an important lesson. Trust requires time. Genuine intentions reveal themselves slowly. And sincerity, like character, must be proven through consistent actions rather than words alone. Looking back on all these stories, the lesson is not that we should become suspicious of everyone around us. It is not that we should isolate ourselves or stop trusting people altogether. Rather, it is about wisdom. It is about knowing that some things deserve protection. Today we've talked about 7 groups of people. Children, friends, neighbors, opportunists, manipulative individuals, service providers, and new romantic relationships. Each story was different, yet they all pointed toward the same truth. Not every plan needs to be announced. Not every detail needs to be shared. Some of the most important decisions in life grow stronger when they are protected from unnecessary attention. As I've grown older, I've come to believe that privacy is not a wall. It is a gate, and wisdom is knowing when to open it. There is a saying I have found to be true again and again. Some seeds only grow in silence. And perhaps our dreams, plans, and future hopes are no different. Before we say goodbye, I'd like to ask you a question. Have you ever regretted telling someone your plans too soon? If you have, share your story in the comments below. Your experience may help someone else avoid the same mistake. At 82 years old, I've learned that the most valuable things in life are not money, possessions, or status. They are peace of mind, the freedom to make your own decisions, and the ability to live according to your own values. It took me more than 80 years to understand that not every plan needs an audience. Some of the most beautiful things in life grow quietly, far away from the noise of other people's opinions. I spent decades protecting my money. I wish I had spent the same effort protecting my peace. Because in the end, peace is far harder to earn back. If this message resonated with you, please share this video with someone who may need to hear it. Leave a comment below, and subscribe for more reflections on aging, wisdom, and the lessons that only time can teach.